Yeah. Oh, was it? I tell you got to watch the version of Cracked Actor from the what's it called now? The Moonlight tour. What's it called? Serious Moonlight tour. That version is.
I went to see Bowie in Anaheim in California about 1989 or something like that, and because Susie and the Banshees were supporting, they're playing this big fucking open air place, massive, and it's the Glass Spider tour.
Right? Wow,
not a great album. No, I was not a fan of Bowie by then, but I went to see the Banshees because I got on the guest list.
Yeah, and, I played with David Bowie a few times with the Prodigy. Yeah, I met David Bowie.
Oh yeah, of course you would have.
He kind of when I was which one was it? Phoenix Festival. I was at the side of the stage. I was just about to go on and do Firestarter, and Phil, who was the tech, who was running around looking after all the gear, we noticed there's a commotion going on, and he turns around, he looks behind me, and then he looks at me and goes, "It's Bowie." And I'm like, "Oh, is he?" And sure enough, up he comes directly to me. You know what I mean? He goes, "All right." He goes, "What's it like? What are they like? What's it like being in them?
Right.
I've heard you've just joined. What's it like?" And I'm like, "Wow, it's David Bowie." And this is all being filmed. This if you get a chance to watch Prodigy live at Phoenix Festival, and if you get a chance to watch is it Fire? I'm sure it's Firestarter, but you'll see me kind of running behind the Marshall stack, and then you'll see my hand coming out. I'm pointing at David Bowie and saying, "This one's for you." And he looked at me with those massive teeth.
Okay, right.
Massive, great big teeth. And I just thought, this is brilliant. And then the next gigs that we had with them, he came over to the dressing room and grabbed hold of me and brought me into their dressing room. He did that 3 or 4 times. I've seen his tattoos.
I've never heard a bad story about Bowie.
He made you feel like you were special. Great.
Yeah, I remember Richard Butler from Psychedelic Furs. After they'd done the American tour, he'd met Bowie, and he said that he was all friendly, and he walked in and he goes, "Hi, I'm David." And it's like, I fucking know who you are.
Yeah.
And I've never heard any mean comments. I think Morrissey fell out with him over something, didn't he? He joined Morrissey on stage.
I've got my own beef. Well, I'm not really keen on Morrissey myself. I think he flirts with fascism way too much.
You think?
It's just like, again, it's like he's trying his hardest to be.
But he's contrary, like Lydon is, and I think I expect him to be a bit like that, expect
him to be.
And I forgive Lydon for a lot of stuff. I mean, do you know what I mean? But anyway, carry on.
But but I just think that there's certain things that it's okay. I mean, and I think that someone like Johnny's got the license to, because we've grown up with him, so we kind of expect him to just speak his mind.
But Morris has been pretty much the same consistently.
Yeah, I guess it's just some of the things that he's said that have just made me think, no, I don't like that.
Well, that's what I mean, though. So when I said that about Lydon, it's like I can tell. It's the first time I've always supported Lydon when he became MAGA overlord and all of that kind of stuff. I always made excuses for him. It's just this particular issue and the way he just shrugged off a genocide by saying "fuck them" sort of thing.
Yeah,
and so I like Morrissey at the moment. If I heard him make a similar statement, then I would change my mind, because that issue is too personal. I don't care about what he thinks about immigration or what he thinks about. I'm not really interested.
But when something's personal to you, then you enter a whole different playing field.
It's a different thing, yeah.
I mean, that's what I mean. It's like, I kind of like speak about things that I've got personal knowledge of, or maybe my history is linked with it or something like that. So I try not to just shout and spout about something that I've got very little knowledge about. Also, I might go through phases of kind of like getting deep into a particular thing, and then I'll shout about that. But I'm not going to make out that I'm an expert on something if I'm not, you know. And jumping onto some kind of like you know, lyrical bandwagon. I'm kind of more into sort of like speaking about what I've got knowledge with. Either that or the story, you know, it's one or the other, isn't it? You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel for you there. I mean, I understand that completely. And I mean, this issue, see, I'm not a political, I don't like to go on about political things. I don't take this as a political issue. It's more personal thing. As I said, I've got family. My dad's Egyptian, so I was growing up in a Muslim family, and I've heard the whole story.
Right.
And so, and I've had some unpleasant experiences in Israel. So I'm not just thinking, well, this is, I know what you mean. It's difficult though, because when people that jump onto a cause, you know, there's always going to be people that have just, they don't really know much about it, but the person in front said it's bad, so they'll agree with it. I agree that people that don't have the kind of in-depth knowledge to comment on something do it too much.
I mean, like at the moment, everywhere you go, literally every pub that you go into, everywhere you go, you get someone complaining about trans. And it's just like, you know, why is it everywhere I go, someone is complaining about these people? They just let them be what they want to be, who they want to be. Let them be.
These things are just memes that go, the public consensus suddenly latch onto the trans thing, or to even the Palestine thing, to the hate Trump thing, to the whatever thing it is. People have their own preference that they'll go on about, but a lot of it is social contagion. I think that you know, it used to be like this before social media, and it's got everybody just at each other's throats. But they're missing the main point of life, which is just to get on and try and get on with people and
try and have some fun. You know,
try and have fun,
which can be tricky. I mean, come on. I mean, we've seen enough things. We've seen some great sides of life, and we've seen some dark sides of life, and we're at those kind of ages where we're kind of like, you know, trying to sort of hang on to your mental health, which can be hard.
It's tricky these days, isn't it? I mean, there's the mental health thing seems to be very much kind of talked about a lot now, and
it needs to be. I mean, you know, I go through my own struggles, you know, and it's just like, it's a thing, you know, I have to get a grip. Do you know what I mean? But also at the same time, every now and again, I need someone to talk to. That person, who's it going to be? Do you know what I mean? I might literally just like send someone a message, you know, do you fancy a chat, you know? And it's not always that easy. I have people sending me messages saying, come round, you know, I need you to cheer me up. And I'm like, well, I need someone to cheer me up. You know what I mean? Where's the big cheerer upper in the sky?
Well, this is the thing, you see, because, you know, I've got a family member at the moment who's had a disagreement for a long time now, and it seems unreasonable to me, and so I'm pissed off about it. But you know, nothing I can do. I just sort of felt, well, okay, we're not going to talk, and I don't really know why, but if that's the way he wants it. So when I say this to my sister and say, you know, fuck him, you know, I don't give a shit. If he's not prepared to accept my olive branch, then you know, fuck him. And then she says, oh, but you've got to take into account his mental health, and you know, he's in a fragile state, blah blah. And it's that, I know that's so, but I've been in fragile mental states.
And what about mine?
And so if we all come from the premise we've all got fucking fragile mental states and don't expect any special treatment because of that, just be nice to each other. You know, just try to understand. I think if you understand someone, try to make the effort to understand it. It's easier. But because this is a very ego-driven world we live in, we're all very concerned about, you know, well, I was right and I want to cling on to that grievance. And it's all a bit silly.
Yeah, I mean, you just find that all over the place. I mean, like yesterday, there was a band that was playing. They're a local band. They're kind of, you know, like, you know, every town has got their sort of like a local band that breaks out, gets a record deal, and makes a little bit of a name for themselves. And you might find that you don't bother to give them any support for whatever reason. Maybe one reason is well, maybe the music isn't really my kind of music, or maybe another reason might be maybe I'm a little bit jealous. I don't know, you know, but I just thought, stuff this, I'm going to go and see them, you know, they're my friends, stuff this. So, you know, just went out, just got a ticket on my own, just went down there, walked in, went to go, and they were just so over the moon to see me. And I thought they were great. And I just thought,
well, that's the thing as well.
Turn around to your own ego and say, fuck this, you're holding me back, you know.
Yeah. But I think a lot of these kind of disagreements and resentments that build up, then not based on real human contact a lot of the time. It's things by text or, you know, contact through whatever forms. But I found that when you meet someone that you're really fucking pissed off with, it's a different thing. You know, suddenly they're a whole person, that it makes it less easy to be all bitter and fucking resentful about something.
Yeah.
Because, you know, because we're all just fucking human.
There used to be this thing that used to go on in the Prodigy that was horrible. It was this kind of like outside, the entourage. They would create this kind of weird like hierarchy problem. And what they would do is the entourage, because really what they want to do is they want to get guest list tickets, they want to hang out, and they want to drink champagne, and they want to be seen with this and that. And what they do is this entourage, they look inside your setup that's going on. All right, so we've got the Prodigy, and I'm playing with them, or was, then, and they might see me. I don't know. I might be playing a gig with. I remember once there's a band in Peterborough called the Shades of Rhythm, and they were another dance band. And I did a little sort of session with them. I played some stuff. I helped them write a song before I joined the Prodigy. And then they asked me, is there any chance you can do a gig with us? So I said, yeah, and I agreed with it. But then I joined the Prodigy, but I still did this gig. Anyway, someone said, oh, have you heard, they went to the band, they went to the Prodigy guys. Have you heard what Gizz has done? And this is one of the entourage people,
Right. Yeah.
Have you heard about what Gizz has done? What's he done? Oh, he's played with the Shades of Rhythm. Don't you think that's not on, is it? And that went on with the entourage all the time. It was almost as if they were interested in this pecking order, and that they would try to get you in trouble because they were jostling for position inside this hierarchy.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be close to Liam. I want to be close to Keith. The way I'll do it is I'll make Gizz look bad, and then that puts me in there, and I shine a little bit brighter, And that went on so much. I'm sure it goes on.
Yeah. People use perceived weaknesses somewhere to kind of get in.
I used to get into trouble all the time. Non-stop.
Do you miss the Prodigy days? Do you miss playing with them?
I miss some of it. I miss there's parts of it that I miss. I mean, it was big.
Yeah.
I kind of like, I guess, you always wish you had a time machine, don't you? Go back and correct my fuck ups,
Yeah.
God, my time machine would get some.
Did you do all right out of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the house that we're in now, was kind of thanks to that, really,
right.
Because I got, when I was in the Prodigy, I had doors opening up left, right, and center. So I was able to get a publishing deal, and I was able to get a recording deal.
Right.
And so, there was a bit of money coming in from that, and a bit of money coming in from that, and that, and that. So that enabled me to get a bit of cash and put down a deposit and then get a mortgage, which I'm glad I did it,
Yeah.
Got a house.
And how are things now with you and Liam?
Not good. No. And that's mainly because of this crappy thing that happened when Keith died. Glastonbury Festival, that was coming up, right? And Earache Records, which was a record label that I used to be on with my band Janus Stark. Well, Earache Records, they wanted to do, they had their own stage at Glastonbury, the Earache stage, the Earache tent, which was probably just like 200 people maximum, nothing. Right. And they said, Gizz, we're going to do a Keith Flint tribute hour as you're a ex-recording artist on Earache Records. We thought it'd be really cool if you just came along, you know, just, I don't know, just stand by the DJ and just maybe just say hello. I said, yeah, I can do that. So they said, great. And then I got a phone call. Would it be all right if we asked your local radio station, which, you know, I live in Peterborough, so kind of local to that is Radio Cambridge. And they just said, would it be all right if we got them to phone you up and, you know, ask you a few questions? I said, yeah, it should be okay. Of course, you know, I mean, I was probably rushing around a bit at the time and didn't really think. Radio Cambridge is BBC Radio, isn't it? You know, so I'm getting phoned up by Radio Cambridge, BBC Radio. They're asking me all these questions. What's going to be happening at this Glastonbury thing, you know? And I don't know, I just tried to answer them with enthusiasm.
Right. As you do.
As you do. Anyway, so the next thing, Glastonbury, Gizz Butt, Keith Flint tribute. And then Earache are phoning me up saying, oh, you know, we've got a call from the organisers, the promoters at Glastonbury. They want to bump it up to the main stage. And I'm like, what? You know, hold on, wait a minute. I'm not a DJ. You know, I'm a guitarist. And they're like, oh, it'd be great though, wouldn't it? You'd be in front of, I don't know, 50,000 people or whatever, you know. And it started to play with my brain. I started to think, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this. What am I going to do? And I started to have this, like, a couple of days of, what am I going to do? You know. Anyway, sure enough, I get a text from Liam. What's all this fucking shit? You know. And I'm like, what have you heard? You know, well, I've heard that you're doing this thing at Glastonbury, a Keith Flint tribute. And I just said, it's meant to be in a tent, 200 people, with me just going up and saying hello. And, you know, well, it's more than that now, isn't it? It's all over the internet. And sure enough, everywhere you looked on the internet, I had this moment where I literally shit myself. I just thought, it's everywhere. It's everyone's using this. I was getting phone calls from, the doors started opening again.
Right.
Before you know it, I'd have another publishing deal. The doors just started opening. Anyway, you know.
What happened? Did it go ahead?
No, I just said, don't worry, I won't do it, you know, and I'll just have nothing more to do with it. And then Liam just said, well, it's too late now, isn't it? Because basically the NME have got hold of it and now they've run a piece on it, you know. And so I just pulled out, but it left a bad taste. Was that the last time? Was that the end of your dealings with Liam? Yeah, because I didn't want to get any. That was it. I'd had enough.
But on a side note, what would be the problem if you did do a Keith Flint tribute?
Well, you know, it's best. It's their gig. Let them.
I mean, if you had approached Liam and said, "Hey, how about Keith tribute?"
I mean, but the thing is, it's not meant to be that size, is it? It's not meant to be. It's like literally. It's like it's Glastonbury Festival, but 200 people in a tent. It's not meant to be anything major. Right. And if it was a harmless thing, then I'm sure why would anyone want to even know about it? But
I hate it when things like that get all bent out of shape and Chinese whispers type.
And then before you know it, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was just, you know, I mean, I was literally just doing someone a favor and also remembering a guy that was a vocalist in a band that I was in, an important moment of my life. And I shared a lot of special moments with him, you know, and I'm grieving as well, you know, remembering that person.
For sure.
And then before you know it, I'm the villain.
Have you seen any of the footage of what he's up to now with, I think he's playing as the Prodigy again, isn't he?
Well, Liam?
Yeah.
Liam is the Prodigy.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he's still like
active. Yeah, they're active, but I've kind of really severed. I don't even want to think about it because the problem is, you know, like if I go to a gig well, I wouldn't be able to now because of that argument that put paid to everything. But I mean, it wasn't even an argument. It was just like a load of text messages. But
they're the worst. They're the worst. Text message. Never have a text argument ever.
You know, the thing was, I just thought it's best to just kind of put a full stop on this story, because before you know it, I'm going to be asking for guest passes to a gig, and then you get a guest pass, and then someone's coming up to you and saying, "Oh, why have you only got this pass, and why are you not in the backstage bit?" So there's all these people just constantly try and make you feel belittled all the time, and it's like, you know what? I'm best off just putting a full stop on this, and let's just, you know, when I write my book, I'll tell the full story, and then that day, you know, I'll make a bit of money out of the book.
Are you working on a book?
I started it, but you know, I kind of stopped it because you know what it's like. If you're writing a book, you've got to put your full attention to it.
Yeah, but it's fun to write.
The other thing is as well is that, you know, the best way I believe in writing a book is if you go through literally all of your possessions, all your stuff, and then look through everything, because all this stuff just gives memory like a bit of a
when I wrote my memoir, I didn't actually do that. People kept telling me best thing to do is to go and look at. I didn't like ask anybody. I just, whenever I do something, I never really kind of ask how to do it. I just want to do it. So when people offer advice, I fuck off, don't tell me. So I never did that, and I just recalled a lot of things, and there was a lot of things that are on my mind ever since that I remembered. But it would have been useful because I've found things afterwards. Thought, oh fuck, I didn't know right about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've rummaged through these boxes of things, you know, because I kept all my, you know, like laminates, and I kept most of my clothes.
Right.
You know, because there was I mean, just to give you an example, we played in Cork. We were supporting Oasis, and me and Maxim went to a skate shop, and we had something ridiculous like 12 backstage passes each. And we went into the skate shop, and we liked some of the clothes, and we said, "Is there any chance of doing a swap?" And we came out with pretty much a shopping trolley full of clothes.
So you gave your backstage passes to them. I got banned from Rebellion for giving away one free pass. I'm not kidding. Lucky you didn't get caught. Did you get on with the Gallaghers? Did you meet them?
Well, I met him briefly. I mean, again, it was that similar kind of thing. Noel Gallagher, he said to me, you know, "Oh, how are you getting on with the Prodigy guys? What's it like?" You know, we were at the side of the stage, and I was about to go on, and he was like checking out what I was about to do and how I was getting prepared, and how you know, what's it like for you, you know, because it was a bit of a curious thing, you know. All of a sudden, a real guitarist is coming into this thing, you know.
Yeah. What do you think about their reunion? They seem to be, they're going to make quite a lot of money from this, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, I hope they practice.
Well, yeah, you would imagine. Zach Starkey was going to be playing drums, and then there's been some disagreement over that. They didn't ask him apparently, and he's made some public comments about his displeasure.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the price of the tickets does seem fucking ludicrous, but I suppose if there are idiots enough that want to pay that money, then that's what big business is going to do, isn't it? It will take it.
It's going to take it. I just really hope that they practice and that they do.
Why'd you say that? Why'd you say that? Why do you think they wouldn't practice?
Well, because we know what rock stars are like. They kind of think that they don't need to practice. You know, that. You know what they're like. You know, I mean, it's not even. You know, it can be difficult enough with your own band trying to get them practice arranged. You know, if you get one a week, you're doing.
But the worst thought in the world is not being match ready.
You know, they match ready. That's exactly it. I really hope, because you know, all of that stuff is going to be right out there, all of it. and you just want, you gotta, please,
I
Liam, sing
can't,
the tune, please.
I can't see Noel not being controlly enough to get it right. I don't think he would want to do it if it was a shambles.
I mean, look, you go and see Paul McCartney play now, and look, how old is the guy? What, 84 or something? 83, and he's still delivering. He'll do like a 2.5, 3 hour set, and he'll be on the top of his game all the way through it, singing, playing all the way through. And you just hope, Liam, please sing.
Well, that's the big worry. It's not so much whether the band are going to be tight, but his voice seems to have deteriorated over the years, and he can't reach some of those notes anymore, and it looks painful sometimes. And
he's got to get practicing, hasn't he? Got to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Got to practice, or ask the band to just like drop it down the semitone. Just play one semitone lower to make it slightly easier. Just get it easy. I'll tell you what, I've got this little secret ingredient for a singer. Let me show you this.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I get this from this German kind of stuff. It's called LSD. No, it's the label's got a bit worn. I've got one that isn't. But basically,
LSD.
It's called Sanger oil. Sanger oil.
Right. Okay.
And it's just fantastic, And if you get any inkling of a sore throat, give yourself, it's herbal. Give yourself
what's it called?
Sanger oil.
SANGA.
ER.
Sanger oil.
All right. With an umlaut. Is that what it's called? Sanger oil.
I use this. It's called a vape.
Oh, fags. Yuppie fags.
Anyway, well, actually, I've given up fags. This is my second week, nearly or maybe it's a week.
You're doing well.
Well, it's not bad. It's not as difficult as I thought, but I must admit, this helps a lot. I tried using a vape before, like years ago. I thought I'll give up smoking fags, but I wanted to smoke dope, and it doesn't work like that.
It's going to work against your voice,
But anyway, it's been a really great time chatting to you. I'm really glad we had this conversation. I haven't finished yet. I've got some questions, random questions that I want to ask.
Go for it.
Okay. So, and also, I wanted to also just end on the album thing.
Which one?
It's just randomly pulled out, but this is
history.
You probably didn't get this album.
No, can you please send me it?
This is actually the only copy I've got.
The only copy you've got?
Oh, I'll tell you what, because I'm nice, I will actually send it to you. So text me your address.
What a great guy.
I have no sentimental value for my own records. But yeah, this was basically all of the singles and B-sides.
Yeah.
And it was a deal done by Dave Goodman, right? Who, with a label, we never made any money out of Vita during the time we were going, because they just took everything. So this is another deal that was done where we were cut out completely, and it's a good example of that thing you were saying about, like, if you're in a band and you make a little bit of money,
you
quickly put it into like a mortgage or something like that.
Yeah.
And I know lots of other punk bands around at the time who were not necessarily really big, but they managed to get a 1-bedroom flat in fucking Fulham or something like that. But we didn't stand a chance because we just had all the money taken away, and we sold quite a lot. And that pisses me off.
My favorite song of yours was "Lock It Up."
Lock It Up, that's on there. Yeah,
it's a great song.
The set we do at the moment sounds really great. I must admit, I mean, I'm doing it because it sounds so great. It's fun to do. The test is always when you turn up at rehearsal, and if it is a bit embarrassing, awkward, then don't. But if it's fucking great, then that's the whole point, isn't it? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Okay, so some questions for you.
Yes.
What would you do if you found a dead body in a hotel room?
What? Now I'm connected with it.
No, you just walked into a hotel room you're staying in, but you've been staying there and a dead body's appeared. And now if you tell the manager, obviously the police are going to want to talk to you now. So there could be easier options, you see.
Yeah, but I am going to tell the police.
You would?
Yeah, because you know that dead body is going to have like either a mum or a son or a daughter, or you know, it's going to have someone. You know, you've got to think of the things that are attached to that.
But you've also got to think about the fact that on that person's dead body is a mobile phone with a text exchange that you never actually did, but it implicates you in their death.
It implicates you in that death. Crikey, this story is getting a bit more complicated. Why do I have to be implicated in the death?
Right, well, exactly. What would you do?
What would I do?
Would you still tell the hotel manager?
Or just walk out?
Mm. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. If you just walk out, that's the end of it. They'll
just walk out and leave it.
Yeah.
But why would I be implicated in that death?
Because someone has set you up and they've sent a text exchange.
Oh, right. So now I'm set up.
It's Liam out of the Prodigy.
In which case, yeah, I could be set up. You know, what is my best bet? Should I just like walk off and just plead ignorance? You know, just look like someone sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing to do with me, Gov.
You wouldn't like stash the body somewhere.
You know, I've been watching episodes of Black Mirrors as well, you know. Sorry, Black Mirror. My daughter will kill me for that. Black Mirror. It's not plural.
Right.
Yeah, I've been watching episodes of Black Mirror. So, yeah, maybe I would find some lake.
I know a good lake. I would,
you know, put some weights around the ankles and, yeah, find some lake. But, you know, you got to think, I mean, that dead body's got, you know, could have a wife, could have kids, could have a mom, could have, you know.
It could have a lifetime jail sentence.
Could have a lifetime jail sentence.
I found when I was in.
What do you do? What would you do? I mean, I guess, you know, I'm probably going to sort of like go for the, I didn't see anything of, you know, just.
Well, I'll tell you what.
But then again, you've said that there's a text that, you know, I'm connected.
Yeah, you're implicated. I'll tell you something. This might help your.
Are you from Earache Records?
This might help you understand your predicament. But this is real life. When back in the early 80s, I was into heroin and stuff like that, drugs. And a friend of mine had come around, this Aussie guy had turned up and he had come around with some smack. And I was just smoking it, but he injected it. And I was staying with my brother-in-law, like a strict Muslim, like didn't want lots of noise. I definitely didn't want drug addicts. Oh, nice. And he just thought, as far as he knew, a friend of mine was coming around to deliver a book to me, and then he was going. But then suddenly I've got this problem of Steve's now collapsed in the bathroom, and I'm kicking him and shaking him, and he's going. I can see his lips turning blue.
Blue, yeah.
And I thought, I can't go downstairs and implicate myself now in this because, And so I thought, what do I do? And I thought one of the things I could do was drag him out. There's a phone box nearby, so I could drag him out.
1 minute.
And just leave him against the phone box, sort of the phone off the hook, and maybe they think he was having a.
See, but the thing is, right? If you do it quick enough, then you don't know if he's dead. He could still be alive. In which case,
I would have phoned the ambulance and left him.
In which case, have you done anything wrong? You know, he's not dead, is he? You know, there's still a bit of.
You don't want the questions asked, really. But anyway, so I freaked out in the end, and I phoned the ambulance. I didn't care anymore about being discovered.
No.
And I said, this is in Archway. Right? Wigginton Hospital was just literally at the end of the fucking road, and I said, someone's OD'd, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
and they took within half an hour.
Umbridge.
They were still not there. And so in that time, I was like kicking him, and eventually I just jumped on his chest, and that was enough to make him
started him,
and that made him coming back to life.
Oh my god, that's fate.
So maybe the phone box, but I did think the phone box thing wasn't bad.
But if you'd have done
the ambulance, it could have been him.
Whereas you actually did, you were motivated. Now I still, you've got a point. I mean, God, see, the thing is, imagine if you'd had a skinful but you thought I could get them to the hospital.
That's the other thing I forgot to tell you. You were really fucking wasted the night before.
Yeah,
And you're not absolutely sure what happened.
But it sounds a little bit like The Hangover, doesn't it? The film. But I mean, I think I just don't know, because if it was on tour, I would have to act on that spur of the moment. I'm gonna listen. We all make decisions on the spur of the moment. It's all very well saying what we do now, but when we're there, there's all sorts of things that are coming in. You might you find a dead body, and you might think, right, yeah, phone an ambulance, phone a policeman, or get it in a taxi, get it to the hospital, or you might think, oh, just ignore it, walk away. I think the problem is that if you, like, number one, if you stick it into a lake or whatever, that's gonna be in your head for the rest of your life. That's gonna eat you away for the rest of your life. That you may as well have been signing your own death certificate. If you put him into a phone box and lean him up and then he dies, again, same thing. You're going to be suffering from guilt all your life.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do make a move, get him in a taxi and get him to the hospital, you've tried. You've done something. But in your case, you saved his life, crikey.
And I phoned the ambulance as well. But I had a lot of explaining to do to my brother-in-law. That's for sure.
Yeah. Was it your brother-in-law that we're talking about?
No, my brother-in-law was the owner of the house who didn't know the shenanigans that are going on upstairs, and he's kindly let me stay there for a couple of months. But yes, interesting one, that. Okay, so this one should be a bit easier. If bald people work in a restaurant, do they need to wear a hairnet?
I wouldn't. I don't think so.
It'd be stupid.
Personally, I don't think so. No.
What possible reason could there be?
No. What is the reason?
I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if bald people can't. I'm pretty sure everyone has to wear a.
I mean, if you wore a hairnet and you're bald, is it just for the look of it? It makes you look a bit like.
I suppose drops of sweat could fall off onto the food. Possibly.
I mean, crikes. Does that go on?
No, that's it. That's it. So
no. I mean, I'm very. Are you still hanging on to your hair? Have you still got?
Yeah. I've got nice hair.
You're doing all right.
Yeah, I wear a cap now while my hair is all fine. So when I do eventually, if I go bald, then I still wear the cap, and people will never know.
Yeah. No, I'm not hairist. It's like
I am a little bit aesthetically for the world of pop music. I'm a bit hairist, I must admit. There seems to be a preponderance of hairless musicians at the moment.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, there's that built-in defense mechanism, isn't there? It's like, I'm thinning out. I'll shave it all off. Whereas
that's the thing. I've said this before, but in the old days when you started thinning, people would have like those nutty Professor Tufty bits, which I thought they were quite good. Or they would fashion a ponytail, or they would comb the great comb, the old-fashioned comb over. What happened to that? Yeah, apparently Dave Hill. I asked why Dave Hill had that stupid fringe, and I was told because
wig, isn't it?
I was told because he combed it over, because he's only about 25 at the time, and now
someone told me that Ron Wood always wears a wig.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it does look unnaturally bushy.
Yeah, it looks thick. Yeah,
for a man of 125 or whatever he is.
Yeah. Well,
all right. Next one. Here we go. Nearly there. Got two more.
Go on.
Which one would you prefer to have? No nose, but have a really good smelling finger, or be blind but have a really nice smile?
I don't want to be blind.
You don't want to be blind, so you go for the finger.
No, yeah, fuck that.
And if you spend a lot of time on the road, don't you? So
yeah,
you spend your time on the road. You know what it's like. You bust in for a fucking pierce, and there's next service stations miles away. You don't want to
bust in for one now, but yeah.
If instead of having your wee utensil where it normally is. It's your finger, and you can just like hold it out the window and just piss as you go along. If you have that ability to switch, and then just one, would you do that? And two, would you tell anybody about it?
I would definitely do it. But I mean, I have actually pissed out of the window.
Have you?
Yeah, many times. Yeah, we've done all that. We've done all the whilst driving along, doing everything out of the window.
I know someone that there was a hole in the back of the Bedford van that we were driving about in, and he used to piss in the hole.
I remember
down.
the famous song, not the bedpan, but the thing that when you're in hospital you can have a piss in. The kind of like, it's kind of like cardboard. It's like a paper thing, isn't it? Like a little kind of bowl with a tube. But it's made of like papier-mâché kind of thing.
It seems a bit too weak to hold. It looks like pissing it into a paper bag or something. Isn't it?
Yeah, well, there was one time when we went out on the road and this guy brought a load of those with him. he goes, oh, you don't need to stop for a piss. I've got these,
There's always adult diapers, that when my son was about 3 or 4, I was over at my mum's, his granny's, and his nappy, I didn't have a spare nappy. And my mum, who's advanced in years, happened to have an adult diaper. She said, "Oh, tie this round him instead." And then in the car drive on the way back, we discovered that doing that doesn't work very well.
It's too big, I imagine.
Yeah,
you got to have some amount of grip.
You do.
Oh man!
How is it? Just one child you got, or how old is she?
Two. Got both. Got a girl and a boy.
Same here.
24-year-old girl and 20-year-old boy.
All right,
man.
Have you enjoyed becoming a dad?
Oh yeah.
It's like life-changing kind of thing, isn't it?
It's the greatest. I'm so glad that that we are together. I'm so glad that they're there. It's it's made a big difference, and they're great. My kids are great, and
I think you never really know if you want kids until you've got kids, and then you realize that of course you want kids. Because
we made the decision, and I'm so glad that we did. Of course it was scary at that when at that point, because we were just hanging on to being young adults. And then we just sort of said, no, let's do this. And we went through that whole experience, and hats off to my wife. What a fantastic wife and mother she has been the best mum. And getting my daughter through all of her O levels, A levels, university degree, master's degree, all that stuff. Fantastic. What a ride. And really, my wife has just really played the major role in all that, And my son getting a job, great, doing all this college stuff and then getting a job. And he's earning a good whack.
Right. Good. I wish mine would.
Well, they've all got their thing, and I mean, we can complain, they've all got their thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that old truism of whatever they're happy doing is could be more accurately applied than to.
I mean, obviously, I wish that they'd, occasionally just come into the house and think, oh, how did that carpet get hoovered? Oh, it must have happened on its own,
Yeah.
How did that floor get mopped? It happened on its own, of course.
It's quite funny to see them when they have their first place, like when my son first went to uni away from home, and suddenly they've got to think about making sure they've got something to eat.
It always stinks of piss. Yeah, it's just never cleaned. Jesus Christ, it's never cleaned. But at the moment I've got them both at home.
Cool.
But it would be interesting to see what happens. It's all every day is just like something different, isn't it? But it's interesting. I'm glad I've got them. I'm glad I've got my wife. I'm glad I've got me. I'm glad I'm still here. I'm still breathing.
Do you think there's a greater meaning to life than just
Do I
living
think
and
there's a
then
higher?
dying?
Do I think there's a higher thing? Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
I think so. But that's up to me, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's. I mean, was it that when the Beatles, apparently, John Lennon said that they were bigger than God. Well, they didn't say that. They said they were bigger than Rod Stewart, which at the time, he was.
Is that true?
Yeah, they were much bigger than Rod Stewart.
No, is that true that he said that? It's not true. You're having me on, aren't you?
Have you seen the Ruttles?
I must admit, I didn't actually like the Ruttles very much.
Oh,
I thought it was a bit boring.
No.
Well, Rutland Weekend TV was even worse.
Well, I live quite near Rutland, so it's great.
All right. Do you remember Rutland TV? Weekend TV?
I think I've seen it.
I mean, that Pistols pastiche. I mean, not Pistols, Beatles. Interchangeable these days.
Yeah.
It was all right if it had just been a short skit. I just found they were dragging it out a little bit. And
I really enjoyed it. I thought that was it Neil Innes?
Neil Innes, he was a great songwriter.
He was fantastic.
Yeah. Hmm.
Eric Idle looked remarkably like Paul McCartney.
I tell you what, Eric Idle is a great songwriter.
Yeah, he is.
He's written some really nice, the sort of funny Monty Python songs, but actually really good.
I still love Monty Python. I still love it.
Yeah. I must admit, it's got to I could rewatch those episodes for decades afterwards, but I haven't seen anything recently. I'm a bit scared in case I think, I don't know how I found this funny.
Yeah.
But there are certain classic things that, I mean, it was groundbreaking when it really, Monty Python was a bit like the Sex Pistols for comedy.
It was. And the Beatles, it was somewhere in between because they had something. That's one thing that the Beatles and Sex Pistols have got in common. Do
you remember a band called the Sex Beatles?
Oh God, I do remember seeing something ludicrous like that. But there's a band called Beatallica, which basically it's like a mixture of Metallica and Beatles. When you hear it for like 2 songs, you think, oh, this is good. But then after that, it's like, oh, take it away,
I think it's great. If there was ever an Eater tribute band, they should be called Cheetah.
Cheetah. It's like a mixture of Chelsea and Eater.
Yeah, well, I wasn't thinking of it like that. Now you've made it have connotations. I'm not like, forget that. Anyway,
it's been done.
Final question. Well, actually, before we get to the final question, on that kind of bit of someone from a band having, like, for instance, there's Generation Sex.
Generation Sex, I saw that. I went to that gig.
And now there's another variety of Generation X, they're calling it. It's the drummer, Mark, with other people, with Liz Westwood and some guy out of Spandau Ballet, which seems a bit random. That's unusual. The bass player from Random Ballet is playing guitar in X Generation X. And there seems, like what we were saying about people are willing to pay prices, there seems to be people always willing to see something that's even a quarter authentic of what, I don't know how to feel about all of that stuff.
Tenuous link.
Yeah, the tenuous. That's
well, look, I mean, I've been involved in that kind of thing myself, I guess.
Well, I suppose I have a little bit as well, but so without sounding hypocritical, tell me what you think about that.
Well, I mean, quite often a band, people will have the attitude of, oh, that band, you should call yourself a different name or whatever, or you shouldn't bother or get yourself another job because it's not got the original lead singer. That's the famous one, isn't it? It's the lead singer.
Well, I think that is the focal point, isn't it, for most people?
Quite often is, but sometimes it's not necessarily the decision of the band. What do you do if the lead singer decides to just jump ship? If the lead singer leaves, what do you do then?
Which is a handy way to introduce Frank Carter into the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go and see the Sex Pistols with the Stranglers and the Buzzcocks. Sorry, Buzzcocks, no the. And Undertones with a the, and the Skids. So
Buzzcock should be Buzzcock now. Well.
Yeah, so I'm going to go to that gig in Glasgow in a couple of weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, I love the Stranglers. I think Baz does a great job.
Yeah, I mean, if a band I really liked, if there was a tribute band that was supposed to be really great, then I could see being tempted into doing that. But I'm not knocking that. I'm just surprised that it's kind of become its own industry. Instead of there being new bands that are being taken on, it's kind of looking back.
Yeah. I mean,
even younger people are getting into, you know, a lot of the nostalgia stuff from the 70s and
yeah.
bands from the 70s seem more exciting than anything else.
Janus Stark did a gig a couple of weeks ago. We were playing with 999.
Right.
I mean, you know all the songs, you know, they come on, it's all these great songs, you know them, it's great, you know. And then, you know, we were getting on really well, and they said to us, oh, they're doing a new album, and you know, they said, you know, we do a new album, but it's kind of like a means to an end, because they know that it might not sell that great, but at the same time, when you do a new album, you put it out, there's the launch, isn't there? There's the, you know, the press campaign, and you know, promotion, and you make some effort. And yeah, you're right, you know, maybe not many people will buy it, but it's a means to an end. You still have to do it.
Yeah, I feel like you still have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. If you have ever described something as indescribable, haven't you already described it?
Yes, I fully agree. It's indescribable. Yeah. And what would you, yeah, I mean, are there many things that you could say are indescribable? Can you think of any? I mean, I imagine that when people first heard the Sex Pistols, they might have struggled to put a label on it when it first came along, before there was ever any terms like punk rock being used. It was like, what is this? You know, because what they were doing was new. You know, it was, you know, what is this? It's kind of like, it's rock with a bit of an attitude. Is it a bit of David Bowie in there? Is that, you know, so indescribable. If you call it indescribable, you've described it.
You have. Well done for battling through that explanation of indescribable. It's fine, but things that are indescribable, I think, to me, that shows that how limiting language is for any experience that can't be written down as a kind of equation. So that's why people that said to think about life and whether there's a higher power or not, it's kind of indescribable. That's one of those indescribable things. So because people want things written down, and so probably that's how religion was invented. They're trying to describe the indescribable, but I have to put it in ways that people understand it, and there's got to be rules involved. And
the thing is,
it corrupts immediately from the thought of something to trying to, you know, transcribe it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of religion.
No, I'm not the biggest fan of religion, but I understand it. I understand why.
Yeah, and sadly, so do I.
And it's obviously, you know, corrupt and all of that kind of stuff as well. But people don't mind paying high prices. People for tickets. People also don't mind following people. They seem to want to actually follow people and get involved in a community of some sort, be a religious one or some other sort. And it seems like a natural instinct for a lot of people to do that. I don't feel like that.
I mean, I think that if someone wants to do it, I kind of, you know, I respect them for that. It's just like, if you've got that belief, then that's all right. You know, if it's, I mean, obviously, if someone's getting rinsed of all their money, you know, donate your cash.
But that's the inevitable consequence. So you can assume that is happening as well. But again, they don't seem to like being rinsed of money for a fucking 500 quid ticket.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a difference between a £5 donation in the box that goes round, and, you know, signing away, you know, 1,000 quid for something that if you don't do it, you're going to feel guilty. You know, it's just so. I mean, I think there's a difference between the two. I think that if you're just putting £5 in a box, it says £5. But then if you're suddenly paying a subscription for something, and before you know it, every month there's like £300 coming out of your bank or something like that. Now that's wrong,
Yeah, it's horrible the way that happens so much. Money just seems to be taken from you the moment you leave the door. If you get a fucking Ule's camera, get your number, you'll get, if you haven't paid it, you'll get a fucking letter if you get caught doing this. And it's all kind of always taking your money. It's always kind of finding ways.
Yeah, you're always having to watch. I mean, that's the thing with my kids. I kind of think, I hope they get that early wisdom to be very wary of these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think that the great writers and philosophers even of like bygone days, great composers that were so young, know, and just early 20s
or less,
and even younger. Yeah, and so that sort of thing doesn't happen so much these days. I don't see any, do you know what I mean, excuse the pun, prodigies in that respect.
Anyway, I'm kind of looking for them because I teach the guitar as well. You know?
Of course, yeah.
So I'm kind of looking out for them, and when I do come across them, it's like, well, I mean, one of the things that I think is important with any guitarist is your finger strength. You're trying to develop finger strength, not just your hearing and your brain and your ability to compose and think of good notes and stuff. But in the case of a guitarist, you've got to get good fingers. Yeah. In the case of a singer, you've got to get a good throat. You need to be capable of singing for 2 hours minimum.
You need to be practicing or playing a lot to that finger thing. I find that because I'm not a guitarist live or anything, so for my own recording I'll play, but I don't play enough. So when I do a gig, I'll notice that that's difficult now. It's easy when I was sitting down, but
absolutely,
yeah. So one final one before we go, because it's an interesting one. I'd like to know what you think. You would do, should a man about to be executed in the electric chair be saved if he has a heart attack before the due hour? So he's got an electric chair in 1 hour, he has a heart attack, the normal procedure, get the medics in. What do you do? Do you say, fuck it, he's going to die in an hour?
No, you should save him. You should save him. He's got that right. That's his human right.
But then kill him. What do you say when
he's a tough one? You let him go, because he's going to be killed, isn't he? That is such a dark thought. At least if he went naturally, but then again, is it going to be quicker if he goes on the electric chair? It'd be like that, wouldn't it? But
sometimes it's not.
A heart attack could be.
Well, let's say he's clinically dead.
I'm not an expert on execution, but damn, that is an awful one.
We'll come back to that in a minute. But
if he dies naturally, in some ways, it's nicer, isn't it? I mean,
but it also feels like he's getting off his punishment.
If he dies naturally, then for him, he's died in a more honorable way. So in which case, depending on, because let's say if it was Fred West, all right, then no, keep him alive because he should be executed,
right?
Because you've got the families of those people that are still living with the.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but
keep him alive and execute him.
But if the heart attack can be made to be more painful than the actual, if whilst he's having the heart attack, you can also
prolong the heart attack,
matches up his nose and
prolong the heart attack. Maybe try and kind of enable it so it goes on forever. So he's forever having a heart attack.
Yeah, so you've got it on repeat, so he never quite dies.
It's just on a loop.
Resuscitate, yeah.
Black Mirror episode again.
Nice. All right, and if you had to die by execution, what would you choose? If you had a choice of firing squad, electric chair, or lethal injection, or hanging, which would it be?
It's the worst question I've ever been asked.
When I was speaking to John McKay out of the rankings, at the end of it, I gave him a really stupid question, and it's funny the amount of people in the comments are like, "Really good interview," until he asked that stupid question. But I think the stupid questions are part of this, I'm afraid.
I think
So,
the lethal injection is going to be the one that's the least painful. You know, that's going to be the lesser evil of all of them.
yes, but it's an experimental one.
The one where you forever on acid.
Yeah.
You're forever having the worst trip of your life.
Even when you die, you just carry on it.
You'd make a great writer.
Yeah, well, I do tend to write a bit.
Yeah.
But I think you've got to choose the quickest one, right? And
Oh, you're thinking the guillotine then.
but you got the guillotine. I forgot about the guillotine. That's there as well. But all of these things come with possible hitches, you know.
Oh God, yeah, you want to bet.
When Alice Cooper,
surely the firing squad's got to be the most sure way, isn't it?
I think probably.
Yeah.
That's got to be the best one.
Well, there's a romance attached to it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and if you're blindfolded, you don't know when it's. And they usually give you a fag. You know?
They give you a fag.
Yeah. They don't give you a fag before they give you a final meal. What would your final meal be?
Curry.
Curry, yeah, a nice curry.
Yeah, jalfrezi.
I don't know if I'd be able to stomach very much. I might have something really boring like a Caesar salad, Waldorf salad.
You're going to be throwing health out of the window by this time, aren't you? You're going to have whatever you want. You know.
Yeah.
No, I'm having a curry, definitely. Yeah.
That must be horrible, though, mustn't it? So when you suddenly get that final meal and you know.
Oh, have you ever had that sensation of fear when you've had that metallic taste in your mouth? It's kind of aluminium kind of taste.
Yeah. You know? Yeah, when it all sort of rises.
I don't know what that's some kind of strange thing that's going on there, but you get a metallic taste in your mouth. You know, if you're in fear of something, you know.
Have you ever nearly died?
I don't think so. No. No.
Have you been in a fight?
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, a bad fight.
Yeah.
What happened? Who won?
Are there any winners? Are there any winners?
Who was the one that was hurt more then?
Well, I mean, I had to go to hospital and they had to have a prison sentence. So,
right. Okay.
But it wasn't good. And if I had that time machine, honestly, I would go back before then, and I would change it. You know,
make it not happen.
I'd make it not happen.
Right.
Yeah, I really wish I had that damn time machine. I really do. You know.
Shit, that's nasty. So, was this someone you knew or no? All right. I know someone when I lived in Wales. Is a weird place. There's some strange people. I remember there was a queue going into a nightclub, and there's this really tall giant of a guy, really tall guy, but really passive as anything, like a big friendly giant, and this little hard guy sort of was annoying him and taking the piss, and then he ended up whacking the tall guy, and the guy fell over and whacked his head on the concrete and died. And suddenly this other guy, his evening out, you know, where he got a little bit too pissed and violent, has turned into a life sentence.
Yeah. I mean, oh God, I mean, without a doubt, you know, I've made mistakes, and I wish I hadn't. There was things, you know, you make decisions on the moment. You know, it's on the turn of a coin, isn't it? It's just like you're kind of looking at what's going on around you, and you think, oh my God, I better do this, and then before you know it, it's fuck.
Right.
I wish I hadn't. You know, I mean, there's a lot to be said for just turning away,
taking a minute,
taking a, just saying no. I'm going to take the higher ground here. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to
difficult to do that.
Go over here and just not do anything. You know,
it's very difficult to once anger kind of is thrown into the mix.
Well, it's also sometimes you get other things coming in where you're kind of fearful of if you don't do something that might happen. You know, so you get this sense of logic coming in, which is unfounded, I guess. You know. I wish I had that damn time machine. I really do.
Yeah, I wish if you could go back to any time, not just that specific thing, but if you could have a time machine and go back, but you've got to live there now, right? So you couldn't come back. What? And you had to go. Where would it be? Or would you stay? Or would you?
Simple. That's really easy.
Actually, I suppose that is easy. Isn't it?
I would go to Liverpool, 1958.
You're saying goodbye to your family.
Oh, my dad, come on. Yeah, but you just said you have to go. I've got no choice.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Liverpool, yeah. And what would you do there? Start a skiffle band. And write hits before everyone else.
Got this idea.
Yeah.
I want to hold your hand. Oh, we've come across that story before, haven't we? Oh.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Sorry, it's not an original idea, though, is it? But no, I mean, yeah, well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. I'd like to see that. I'd like Hamburg as well. Fascinating.
I'd like to go back to Victorian times.
It would stink a bit.
It'd stink a bit, but I like, you know, it would seem interesting. I like the fact that they sold hard drugs at the chemist.
They wore some sort of snazzy clothes.
Coca-Cola with cocaine in it.
You know? What about Napoleonic? So then you get to wear all the cool tops. But no, I'm kind of like into the whole, you know, the swinging 60s.
I think cool. The time we're in is actually quite an interesting time for all its horrible faults. It's, you know, on a kind of
but it doesn't seem as good as the 60s.
Sorry,
it doesn't seem as good as the 60s.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I wonder though if, you know, hindsight makes everything seem nicer than it actually was. But I'm willing to give it a chance. I would sign up. I'd be back in Victorian times writing romantic novels.
Seeing where it gets you.
I'd take a suitcase of published books with me.
Out on the wild and windy moors.
Yeah, I've got this idea. Anyway, on that note,
right,
it's been really fun talking to you. And
thank you, Andy. I'd like to say the same. I can't, but I'd like to.
Very good.
Oh no, thank you so much.
Are you gigging or anything? Have you got anything coming up?
Got some gigs. So working on this new album. There's some things going on. There's some talks going on in the Scream camp. You know, the American band that I'm in, Scream, which is brilliant.
What sort of thing is that? What kind of
Washington DC? Well, they were known as being a Washington DC hardcore band, right. But you know, really musically, the guys they're great. You know, it's a wealth,
right?
And I'm not the oldest person in the band, which is nice. You know,
comes up with that.
And but yeah, I love being with them. And so there's talks about something going on at the moment. Obviously, can't say anything, but right. God, I want that to come off. You know, it's very good. And yeah, working on the new Janus Stark album. We got some gigs. We got a few gigs. Not doing too many because I'm working on the album. You know,
I've got quite a few friends that like Janus Stark.
You know, we're keeping our hand in. So you got some friends. Well, you know, we could do a trade. I can send you some Janus Stark vinyl if you can send me that ETA vinyl.
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah.
One other, before I forget, what's your name all about?
Gizz. It's easy, you know. Kenny Everett, Gizzard Puke.
Right, and Butt.
That's real.
That's real.
Yeah,
you know, it's a bit like. Do you know it sounds? Because I wasn't exactly sure how to pronounce it, and it could be Gizz Butt, but I thought probably not that.
No, it's you know, Butt is actually quite an old northern name, and it's a place where archery was.
I used to live in a road called Butts Close, and my friend, this bass player, was always forever taking the piss of the fact that I lived in a road called Butts Close.
Yeah,
some people find humour in silly names.
I wish our street got changed to that. That'd be fine. You know, maybe the street just up there.
You should actually look for somewhere that is called Butt Close or Butt Lane or something like that.
Just for that. Well, I often do kind of like look on the map and go and have a photograph taken there. Just, you know.
Yeah. And there used to be an estate agents called Blade and Co. And in the 80s, and I remember.
Didn't he do well?
I'd block out the "and co" bit and just stand there. And
just stand there.
Great photo opportunity.
Yeah. You did well there. Yeah. Then you can send a photograph to someone and say, look, I'm doing okay now.
I've got an estate agency.
You know, the royalties that I got actually worked out in the end.
Yeah. Well, maybe on a parallel existence, that is the case.
Well, I hope that our parallel existences come together again.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, are you playing London anytime?
No, I'm going to go down. I'm not going to organise any London gigs until we've got. I want the new album out, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, well, I mean, if someone asks us to play, we'll play with them, of course, But I don't want to do a headline show yet. I want to try and get this. But I'm going to go down there. There's a few things that I'd really like going to. Rockaway Beach at the Hope and Anchor.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you know Sam Wilde?
Sam Wilde.
He runs that. He runs the Hope and Anchor.
Oh, does he? Right. Well, I think more than likely I do.
Nice guy.
But
we should do a gig together, Eater and Janus.
We must.
Something like that.
We must. I would be bang up for that.
Well, we should organise it.
And if that happens, would there be any chance that I could just pop up and do a little?
Oh, for sure.
With
in fact, you can come for as many songs as you like. Waiting for the Man, Easy, AED.
Yeah. It's just it's that Lock It Up song. I love that song.
Yeah, come up for that. That would be fucking wicked. Let's do that.
That's
a good like that as well. Cool. All right. Well, have a nice evening, and it's been really great pleasure talking. Actually, good fun. It's been a long conversation. You can always tell a good conversation by the length of time. Usually, we've gone twice over the normal.
Yeah.
When did we start this? Fucking hell, we started this.
Was it 5:15?
3 hours.
5:15. Brilliant.
I enjoyed this one. All right,
mate.
I will see you hopefully at some gig or another soon, and if not, meet up.
Hopefully down the Hope and Anchor.
Hope and Anchor sounds good. Yeah. Cool. Right. Thanks for coming on. Cheers.